Welcome to Headlocks, Heels, and Havoc, the wildest mixed tag team in podcasting, where the kayfabe drops and the chaos takes over. Let's ring the damn bell.
Headlocks tight, heels on the prowl, dropping elbows, you're in ground, feel the foul. No script here, just real, no bluff. Kayfabe crack, now the dirt gets rough. Headlocks, heels, havoc in the zone, stepping in the ring. Chaos at your home, no filters, no mask, just raw bare tone. Wrestling unscripted, we on the throne. Title bells, mic checks, crowd going crazy. Drop truth bombs, leaving lines feeling hazy. Beyond the kayfabe, past the charade, where legends are born and stories get made. Headlocks popping, who's hitting the mat? Welcome to the Havoc where the real talk's at. Tune in, step through, leave the fake at the door. Headlocks, heels, Havoc, now hear the roar.
Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. I am one half of the greatest tag team and 1/4 of the greatest faction in this podcasting business, the legend J-Mac. With me, as always, is everybody's favorite uncle and my favorite tag team partner, Uncle Slam.
What's up, family?
And tonight, we have been waiting for a long time trying to get this man on, getting everything scheduled and everything. But we are bringing you all in Ace Carmichael. How you doing, Ace?
I'm doing great. How you fellas doing?
I'm alive another day. That's it.
That's good. You're doing pretty good then.
That's right. 6 feet above ground and breathing. It's a good day.
That's half the fight.
That's exactly it. Man, what you been into? We know you had a big match last week and everything, or was it the week before last against Adrian Alexander?
It was a couple of weekends ago. Tomorrow makes two weeks. Yeah, since Adrian Alexander screwed me out of that EWA championship. Go figure.
I unfortunately was not able to be there. We had so many things going on with the show. We haven't been able to make it to any EWA events this month, which I'm really depressed about because
you ain't the only one. I've been super busy with going to this show and that show, and then I finally got my shot to take that belt, and of course get screwed over. So now I gotta go. Now I feel like I have to be at EWA at every show. That way, if I got that chance, I'm gonna take it.
That's it. I mean, you got to take the chance when the chance presents itself. That's wrestling.
That's wrestling.
That's just wrestling. So tell us a little bit about Ace Carmichael for the fans that don't really know who you are and stuff like that. I don't know who they would be because they're not real fans then.
Yeah, I've been back for a year, so if they haven't caught on yet.
Right. They got problems that we can't help them with.
well, to sum it up, Ace Carmichael's the greatest wrestler to ever lace them up. I'm just kidding. No. No. See, I started training in 2007 for a local promotion in my hometown, and it didn't turn out the way I wanted it to based off the training that I was receiving. I felt like this is a waste of time. And so back whenever Danny Davis still owned OVW, I enrolled into one of their classes because back then it was $1,000 for, 10 weeks. And if you were good enough, you got invited to stick around and train with Rip Rogers. And I was like $1,000. And at the time I was a young man. And so I waited for that income tax refund to come in, and I went up to Louisville and I did my training there and stuck around. And then that's whenever like Al Snow and them started coming in, and then kind of seized the opportunity for up and coming guys because he was bringing in a lot of like TNA, like people like Abyss and stuff like that. So there wasn't that little bit of opportunity you had to break out and shine, kind of got taken down. So then I decided to have a family. So I took about almost 7 years off the biz to have kids and repopulate the world with little Ace Carmichaels. And after they got kind of big enough to where they don't want to hang out with me so much, I said, well, why don't I at least lace the boots back up and get back into the business? And for the last year, I've been tearing it up all over, Kentucky area. And like I said, a couple weeks ago, I had a chance to take the Elite Wrestling Alliance title off of Adrian Alexander. Whenever I first got booked for that match, I was really excited because Adrian was one of the good guys. And then you find out what he done to Tony Carell, and then you find out he's, in bed with Ben Sharon and his brand, and then I knew it. I knew what was going to happen. But, having Ken Anderson come out there and save me, that was pretty cool,
I mean, there's worse people to be saved by, you know what I'm
There
saying?
is.
I
There
mean,
is.
there's way worse people to be saved by. Yeah, that was pretty awesome. Like that's another reason why I hated that we missed everything was, just the opportunity of meeting him and everything, seeing that match, because I was looking forward to that match. I look forward to anything that goes on at EWA. I'm not going to lie. I've told everybody when they come on here, Uncle Slam and I will both attest that we weren't much for the independent wrestling scene.
Mm-hmm.
And, it was just, to me, it always, and I hate to say this because I was so wrong about it. Let me preface that by saying that I always looked at it. It was like, it's that cheap knockoff stuff,
low rent,
right. And it
Yeah.
was just like, we started doing the podcast, and then our former co-host, the Vipers, Miss You Vipers, she was letting us know about EWA. And I was like, oh, okay. So I was like, well, let's get in contact with, the owner, see if we can find out who the owner is and see if we can ever do anything together, even if it's just, hey, interviewing a wrestler or two here or there.
Mm-hmm.
We went out to dinner and got offered the opportunity to come and, set up a table and sell our merchandise and stuff, which greatly appreciate that and everything, because if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have met you all.
Yeah.
And not only meeting you all, I am so totally sold on independent wrestling now. Like I would almost, that's what I tell people. We're going to SmackDown this 22nd. And I would have almost rather just saved that money and went to different events, between EWA and KWF and, AMW, all the great organizations around this state. There's enough wrestling to go around that, you don't have to pay any attention to any of the mainstream stuff, if that's what you want to call it.
For the money we paid, hell, we could have probably went for like a whole year to probably every one of them.
Yes,
that's the truth. And see, that's what I tell everybody is because, I used to kind of frowned on independent wrestling because I would go to these shows and, being a wrestling fan my whole life, you go there with expectation. But what you're seeing on TV, that's the best of the best,
Yeah.
And, you go there, and that's actually how I got trained the first go around, is because I seen a match, and me and my buddies, we were there heckling and doing all the stupid things you do as a young man. And as you learn to be a worker, you kind of want that from especially if you're a heel, you want them engaged. Well, I made some smart remarks saying, well, I could do better than that, not knowing that the promoter's wife was actually in front of me. And she turns around and says, oh, you think you can do better? I can get you, come to a class. And I said, okay. And I showed up to the class and I stood out and did very well. And so I was like, hey, I think I, would be pretty good at this. But like the independent scene, it's almost like the independent wrestling and SmackDown. I tell everyone this. You can come to one of our shows. Say if you have a family of 4, you can spend $50 in today's economy and you can have a whole night of fun. You go to SmackDown, you got to take out a second mortgage to sit, not even down close. We're talking, there's still good seats, but like low arena. But the production level of places like EWA and Appalachian Mountain and stuff, there's different levels to it. There's still some mud shows and stuff sticking around, but even like in movies, you have millions of dollars in movies. Like you have franchises like Star Wars and stuff that are great movies, but they also have some very bad movies. But then you have small movies at movie festivals. They're some of the best movies ever made. And unless you're one of those people who goes to the small movie festivals, you have no idea that those actors or actresses or directors even exist. So that's how I look at independent wrestling.
Yeah. Oh,
I think it's just a lack of knowledge, honestly. I think, because that's what ours was. Like I said, we had never been before. We'd just seen one type of wrestling, didn't know anything about anything else. And then once you actually go and see it and experience for yourself, then you realize you're like, okay, this ain't what I thought it was. Like, this is a lot better, like, this is interesting. It's not, the, small time. Like, these people have skill. They got talent. You know what I'm saying? They're
hmm
future stars right here.
And I think that's one thing that helps with independent wrestling a lot is I used to think it was just my mindset of I would have family and friends coming, and a lot of them don't even watch wrestling on TV. But in my mind, I'm like, if I can make them like wrestling, they'll keep coming back. So I'm sitting there with the boys in the locker room. I'm just like hoping no one, like everyone just puts on, like has the mindset, we got to put on a great match so people will come back. Because all it takes is a one bad show, and everyone's like, I ain't going to no independent wrestling show. I'll sit at the house and watch it on TV.
And that's the thing. People don't realize what they're missing by doing that, because like you were talking about, you can go to SmackDown, like I said, me and Uncle Slam are, and I think I signed away 2 of my future kids to go to this SmackDown and everything, but thank God I'm not having anymore. But, you're not going to go to SmackDown and take your kid and your kid heckle the wrestler, and the wrestler turn around and point their finger right at your kid, unless you're right there in the first couple of rows.
Yeah. And even then, they might not even acknowledge.
Yeah.
That's it.
And who wants to pay 10 grand to sit up front? You know what I'm saying? I mean, like, who's got that type of money nowadays anyway, especially just for wrestling?
Did you hear about the guy at WrestleMania who paid buku's money to sit next to Michael Cole during one of the matches at WrestleMania? So they had supposedly they had some package where you could pay like $100,000, and for one match of your choice, you get to sit next to the commentators, and like you have a chance to commentate on the show. And this guy just paid a lot of money. Could you imagine paying that much money to sit next to Michael Cole?
No.
No. I mean, I just,
no.
No,
I wouldn't do it. I couldn't.
There's so many other things I could do with that money besides,
I mean, you could buy a house with that much money.
Yeah.
You're gonna sit by some guy for one match.
Yeah, and who gets the money is the thing. Is like, is that going to Michael Cole? Is that
Feeling the TKO, my friend?
Yeah,
yes, it
exactly.
is. Yes, it
TKO.
is.
But I mean, J Mac, to go back to what you were saying, that's what, like, as independent wrestlers, it's up to us to get people invested to even come to the show. So it's old school, and I'm not even one of those guys. Like, I don't believe, like, I believe in paying your dues, but I don't believe there's a spot where you stop paying your dues. So even now, like, if there's a show around where I am, I'll go hang up flyers and I'll try to get people to come, and they'll say, oh, I watch WWE. And that's where I'm like, I'll stop them. I say, you can go to WWE and you can yell all night long, and they're probably not even going to hear you. I said, here, you literally become part of the match sometimes, like without getting physical, but you can come up there and there's only, maybe 100 to 200 people in the gym. They can hear you, and most likely they're going to interact with you. So you can't do that for the price of money you're going to spend at these WWE shows. And I'm not knocking WWE or anything like that. Like, we go to shows as well, and like as fans, that's what you do. But to not come to the smaller shows that are $20 or whatever, it's like you're missing out.
Yes, you are. You're gypping yourself in the long run, because and that was my big thing. It was like, who do I root for? I don't know these wrestlers. Blah blah blah. Well, you're right. I didn't know them, but now I know you. I know Cash. We know Bobby, we know Adrian, we know, Buzzsaw Nate, Dahlia. You all are like, well, EWA is our home territory. That's what we tell people. That's the family show right there.
That's what I tell a lot of people. It's like, I'll wrestle here and here, but if you want to see a really good show, this is like where I'm always at.
Right. And that's the great thing is like, it didn't matter who I was supposed to root for. Didn't matter who I wasn't supposed to root for. It was just about coming, having a good time, and getting involved with the show. Yep. And, like my daughter will tell people, and I tell everybody this that comes on, and especially I need to tell you, because I had to tell Cash too, because you guys are like her favorite tag team. She absolutely loves her some Ace Carmichael and Cash Adkins. She's all about y'all. But,
I believe, was it her first show that I took a picture with her out in the parking lot? Was it her first show?
Yes. Okay.
Sir. I remember that. Yeah.
She still loves that picture. And as a matter of fact, she wants me to get it blowed up, because she's wanting me to get all her pictures with wrestlers to where I can put them on her wall and stuff and everything. But she tells people, that's her wrestling. She,
Yeah.
you know, she'll watch some of the female matches in WWE, but I tried to get her to sit and watch some WrestleMania with me. She just wasn't having it. She wasn't
Yep.
into it. I tell her, hey, guess what? Tonight we gotta go to EWA. Really? Really? Who all's gonna be there? What's the matches tonight? Is Lexi
Yeah.
Green gonna be there? Is Ace gonna be there? What about Cash? What about this? Like, she's still bent over Chris Crow attacking Cash. I'm like, honey, that was months ago. She's like, I don't care. She's like, I don't care. I don't like him because he did
That's
that.
how my daughter is. She holds grudges.
Yes. Yes. So you know what I'm going through.
I know exactly what you mean. Is so and so going to be there? Well, Stan Sierra threw a fireball in their face. I'm like, I mean, I guess.
Right. I don't know, honey. I'm just here for the show too. So what would you say was like your inspiration as a kid? Like, what wrestler or what moment really got the itch, to where it was like, man, I fell in love with this,
Okay. Well, my favorite wrestler growing up when I was about 4 or 5 was Bret the Hitman Hart.
There you go. Good take.
And
Wow.
and everything I model, other than whenever I try to cut promos, because for some reason I could sit here and talk smack to anyone, but if you say, "Hey, we need a promo out of you," I'm like, "Oh, what do I say?" And as far as the technical stuff and like Bret Hart's I study so much Bret Hart. But as a kid, so I had a brother who was 2 years older than me. He had cerebral palsy. When we were kids, we would just lay on the floor and we watch. The first feud I ever remember seeing was Bret the Hitman Hart and Doink the Clown. And at that age, I had a fear of clowns. So seeing him beat up this green-haired clown, I'm like, that's my guy right there. And I mean, we used to have the old home Coliseum videos. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Like WrestleFest and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And like we would watch those VHSs. And then I got to where I would pause. Like I caught on to the work of it very young. I would pause it and I'd watch it in slow motion. I'm like, oh, so that's how they do the elbow drop and stuff like that. To me, the storylines were still real, but I understood what was going on. So I would learn to put a sharpshooter on. I had a brother who had cerebral palsy. He was nonverbal, couldn't walk, talk, or anything like that, but we still communicated with him. And I would get him in a sharpshooter at a young age, get him in a sharpshooter, and he would just be laughing and stuff. And my mom would walk into the room and be like, "What are you doing?" And I would do that. And then, so I would watch that. And then we would have the old WWE music CDs that would come out. And like, I would play it. I'd play it on our stereo system. I'd run back to my room and I'd make my grand entrance into I would verbatim. I'd mimic everything. And then one time, me and my brother were wrestling. Of course, he's in his chair. So I'm like, kind of doing this. And I gave him a Shawn Michaels super kick and I stiffed him. And it flipped the chair back. And my mom, because I couldn't get the chair back up, and he was perfectly fine. He was laughing about it, but I felt terrible. And I was maybe 7 or 8 years old. And my mom said, "How about we don't wrestle your brother?" And I was like, okay. So, but to answer your question, Bret the Hitman Hart, that was my man. As I got older, Jericho was really cool to me. Of course, The Rock, but the inspiration all started with Bret the Hitman Hart. I thought he was everything.
I was going to say, with you being such a Bret Hart fan, you shouldn't be allowed to use the super kick, man. That's not right. I'm an HBK
I turned heel that day.
Right. That's mine and Uncle Slam's whole big mantra on here. He's all Bret Hart. I'm all HBK, and kind of works out for a good dynamic on the show because we always got something to debate each other about.
Who's better? Who's the best?
Right. And it's funny too that you mentioned the Doink Bret rivalry, because I was watching an interview the other day with Bret Hart, and he was talking about how he absolutely loved the Doink character. He said people didn't get it. He said people thought it was goofy, people thought it was kiddie and stuff like that. He said, but that wasn't it. It came off that way, but it maybe because of the time. He said, but he said he totally believed that you could have taken the Doink character, put it into the Attitude Era, and it would have worked just fine because he was a maniacal clown. The difference is the pranks would have gotten, a little bit
Could
more
you imagine?
reality based. Yeah, could you imagine
Doink's
Like
attitude
Doink
era,
was the
Doink
one
pranks.
who ran over Stone Cold. You know what I'm saying? I
He
mean,
cut off Val Venus's slang.
I did it for the Doink.
I did it for the clowns.
Right.
Oh man,
But yeah,
I've never thought of Doink in the Attitude Era, but could you imagine? Like if Goldust worked, you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah,
and
that's it.
especially for people that knock that gimmick during that time when there was so much worse. And like not only that, but people with bad gimmicks and were bad wrestlers. Like who was it? Matt Bourne? Was he the Doink? Like could work circles around most of those guys.
Well, it's like, and that's the sad thing is like on the very first, I think it was the first WrestleMania, you get to wrestle as Matt Bourne, your real name, blah, blah, blah. You have a good match. And then a few years later, you're in WCW being called Big Josh, and they're trying to make you into a lumberjack and then that doesn't work out. And then you go to the WWE and they're like, we're going to make you a clown. And, in the room, he's like, what?
How am I supposed to get that over?
Yeah, right. I got to be bozo.
Not only a clown, but I'm an evil clown.
Yeah.
Right. I was like, I'd have been channeling it and Pennywise all day long. Cause
that's probably what he did, honestly.
What? Stephen King?
Right.
Add a little Homie the Clown. You know what I'm saying?
So you said that you mentioned that you were trained by Danny Davis and stuff and everything. It's actually funny that you said that too, because I was watching some old Bulldogs versus Heart Foundation matches with Danny Davis and everything. Who all in OVW, because it was OVW you trained at, right?
Yes, sir.
Or was it? Okay, I didn't know if it was like actual OVW or just like his thing on the side or. So who all did you train with and was with you up there while you were training? Like that.
Well,
everybody.
I got in. I was Matt Capitelli. I was his second to last training group. So it was towards the end of ours. And for people who don't know, the way they do their beginners program is you get 10 weeks. It's Saturday and Sunday morning. You train from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. or 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. And then they have the dance class come in with Rip from 10 to like 1. And so you do that for 10 weeks, but then after your 10 weeks, you get a rookie showcase show. And I always tell this story because it's one of like the solid flexes I have. So do you guys know Truth Magnum of the Outrunners for AEW? Do you know who I'm talking? Do you know the Outrunners? Do you know who I'm talking about?
I want to say yes, but the name sounds familiar. I don't know that I.
If you haven't checked out the Outrunners, you have to check out especially their vignettes. They're very old school, and they're guys who are like in their early to mid 30s, but they call themselves the youngest men alive. And everything they do is like a flashback. Like Turbo, his big comeback is the Hulk Hogan just punches and body slams, punches and body slams. And right now they're running. They
are.
Okay. Well, Turbo. Yeah, Turbo, he was with me in my training class. And so you run 10 weeks and then you get a rookie showcase show. And the way they do it is they group one of the rookies with a veteran and you guys have a match. That's the whole show. It's virtual. It's a veterans versus rookies. Well, I'm trying not to call him his shoot name, but Truth and I main evented. We were the first two rookies since Cena and Orton did this to go rookie versus rookie in the main event of it. And I worked heel and he worked baby. I screwed him over. And then you put your whole show together. And we had this guy who he started out wrestling and he was like kind of not for me. He's older. And he's like, but I got a great mind. So he kind of booked it for us. So Ace Carmichael won the rookie showcase. So I got $10,000 and they came up and said, how do you feel about it? I said, I feel so, because at that time I was the gambler and my stick was, I always make these huge, crazy wagers and it always like bites me in the end. So it never works out. So I won this $10,000, and I said, "Oh well, I'll put it up against anybody, whatever." So they're like, "Well, what if we do like a battle royal against 20 people?" And I was like, "Okay, yeah, we can do that." And I ended up losing, and Truth beat me in the end. But to get back to your story or your thing, I tell all that because that's whenever Matt Capitelli's brain cancer came back. But as far as people that I worked around, Cash Flow, he was up there that time. That's whenever he first came up there to OVW. Let's see. Of course, Rip helped out a lot. Danny, Truth was up there. I'm trying to think of some guys that are still up. Big Zoe for OVW, he was up there. Trying to think of people that are still. There's not many that are still up there. Can't think of many people that are still up there, but the guys that were up there at the time was Ryan Howard. I don't know if you remember that guy, the blonde haired dude. Hernandez, he was up there. What is his name? Skinny guy. He might be their heavyweight champion right now. What is his name? I can't think of his name. I'm going blank.
Orange Cassidy?
No, not Orange Cassidy. Nick. I feel like his name.
You mean over in OVW? Okay.
Yeah. Nick Jackson. No, it's not Nick Jackson. I can't think of his name. But a lot of those guys, they've either already quit or they're still down there in like low card areas, sticking around. But the thing that always killed me about OVW is when you're there with them, and you can't like branch out to other like small promotions. Does that make sense?
So you can't do any
so they don't
separate indie work like as long as you're with them.
Yeah, it's like if you're OVW talent, you're OVW talent, and that's where you're at until you're not.
Okay.
See, I don't know how much I agree with that, but I do agree with it at the same time. I've always been on the fence about that because I understand them trying to protect their assets.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I totally get that. But at the same time, if you're going to protect your assets, then you need to pay them to where they don't have to go outside.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to be able to pay them. If I own an indie company, excuse me, you're not talking about Nick Dinsmore, are you?
No, he wasn't there. This guy's like their champion right now. I can't even think, but I've met Nick. He came in one time so once me and Truth, we were two of them that we got asked to come back. So for the last like 4 weeks, we would train in the basics from 8 to 10, and then we'd stick around with Rip till 1, and then I had like a 2.5 hour drive back home. So,
man,
and on Saturday I'd have to go to bed, get back, and go again.
Man,
so how did you balance, the whole training and having a family or whatever? Like, was it hard? Did your wife work with you?
See, then it was just me and her. We didn't have all the kids, so it was just like, hey, listen, for the next 10 weeks, I'm not going to be around on the weekend. Like, is that all right? I was like, yeah, it's fine. Luckily for me, she's very low maintenance and she's in the nature and stuff. So, and like, I enjoy nature, but at that time I hated hiking. So it's like during that time is in the spring. So like, okay, well, I'll go hike. And I was like, okay, cool. Have fun.
You hike, I'm gonna go wrestle.
Yeah. And so, but like now, as far as like working shows and stuff with my family, she's such a blessing because like there's not a whole lot of it's hard to find someone who supports something crazy like wrestling. So whenever you can find someone who not only will support you and be like, yeah, sure, go do it, but anything I need, like she's always at my merch table and stuff, which also helps because she doesn't like sitting in crowds. So with the merch table, you kind of get to sit back and away from everybody.
Yeah,
so
that makes sense too. So I got a hard-hitting question for you.
Uh-oh. Wait, should I fix my light? I feel like my face looks weird.
Oh, you're good. I mean, I can see you.
Okay. As long as I'm good, I don't.
Yeah, you're good.
All right, hit me with it.
So the little aces that run around your house.
Yeah.
is the elder Ace, is he their favorite wrestler, or do they kind of give you, I think it was Randy Orton, where they were like, who's your favorite wrestler, and he's like, Cody Rhodes. He's like, what?
Well, I'm definitely my son's favorite wrestler because him and my nephew, they are about 7 weeks apart, and they're both 4. And they will argue over who gets to be Ace Carmichael whenever they're wrestling. And so definitely his favorite. My daughter, she's 7. And so my son, he hasn't got big into the WWE stuff. Like he'll kind of like be in the room and look at it, but he doesn't really care. He'll watch our stuff on YouTube just because he knows the guys. But my daughter she used to like Tiffany, and I don't know what happened, but she used to not wear pink or anything. Then she likes Tiffany, but now she has fallen in love with Rhea Ripley and Io Sky. So she'll say, well, Ace Carmichael's my favorite wrestler, but I like Rhea second and Io third. I was like, yeah, okay, sure.
That's all right, though. As long as I'm number 1, that's all that matters.
Yeah, sure I am, but
right. I do a universe mode on my WWE 2K26 now, and this year I've reached out to a guy who he pretty much, man, and it's crazy the things that people make money off of now. But this guy literally makes money off of making people created wrestlers and
I've seen people like that on Instagram.
Yes, and I'm just like, what am I doing wrong? You're not
doing the right thing.
Right. So I reached out to him and everything, and he's going to make me a bunch of EWA guys to add to my universe.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, and you're one of them. I'm making you and Cash as a tag team to throw.
You'll have to shoot that over to me, and I can turn on Cash and
there you go. There you go. I can even write the storyline for you.
Yeah. Well, see, they were asking me the other day because we'll get on there and play, and just to make sure they win and don't give up on the game, I'll set it up as a tornado handicap match. I'll let them do their thing, and then if the PC or the UPC gets too crazy, I'll clothesline them, let them get back on top. And they said, "Is there an Ace Carmichael?" And I was like, "No, there's not." And it's like, well, I could take the time to do it, but I haven't. But then I'm like you, I see these guys that was like, for $50, I'll make you a wrestler. And I'm just like, that's very tempting.
Right. Right. I mean, hey, why not do it if you can do it?
Exactly.
I mean, I ain't got my guy made, but he's made on there. But yeah,
the hardest thing is getting the mask. Like if you want to use your actual face, because like where we have beards, it's very hard to. And I don't feel like my face is very symmetrical,
Well,
I think I've been kicked in the nose too many times.
Left turn. Yes. My brother accidentally punched me in the nose a few times, and mine decided to head left towards Albuquerque.
Yeah, accident? Are you sure about that?
No, it was total accident because like he was joking around. He walked into my room one time. I don't even remember what I was doing. I was just sitting on the bed, and it was my younger stepbrother. But he just walked in like acting like he was going to be stupid. You know how like you'll flinch at your brother like that and like, act like you're going to hit him and everything. Well, he walked in and done it, but he actually started to throw the punch and he didn't pull it quick enough. And he nailed me right in the nose, man. I heard it crunch and everything. I was like, yeah. So now it takes a left at Albuquerque. But
I don't know about you, Unc. That didn't sound like an accident.
Right, it probably wasn't.
Payback though.
Oh yeah, trust me. Well,
did you get your receipt?
Ace was saying, this is the same brother and this is why I say I've never taken an actual professional bump. I've never been professionally trained, but I have wrestled thousands of matches in living room floors, on patios, on trampolines, and I'm telling you, I've never injured anybody. I've pile drove people. I've, just like you and your brother, I've sweet chinned my brother into tomorrow. No concussions. Everybody's still alive, and there's never any broken bones. I feel like I'm a pretty safe worker.
So, I heard J Mac wouldn't do the job though.
Right? No, he got his hand raised a lot more than he got it lowered. But I mean, I knew how the story was supposed to go. He didn't know. I was writing this stuff. He was just there for the matches.
Oh yeah, a mark for himself, huh?
Right. Right. I'd tell him he was going over in this match, and he'd be like, "Really? Really? How are we going to do this, man?" I'll be like, "I don't know how you want to do it this time."
It'll work for me, brother.
Right. That don't work for me, brother.
Let's think I
Listen
could body
here,
slam you on some
pal.
thumbtacks.
Right. Yeah, yeah. We didn't ever go that far, but man, I'm
Oh
telling
man.
you, we had some what would Gorilla call them, some Pier 6 brawls.
What is
Yeah.
y'all's? I know this isn't my role on here, but just out of curiosity, what is y'all's view on like the death match wrestling stuff?
Uncle Sam, you want to go first?
See, I've always been kind of a fan of like ECW, so I don't mind as much, but I don't watch a ton of it like I used to.
Yeah,
I don't hate it. Like, I think it has a place, but I also kind of agree with Legend because we've talked about this before that ECW kind of pigeonholed themselves, and that's kind of why they went out of business because that's all they did. And eventually, you have to have more than that. You know what I'm saying? You got to have a little more story. You got to have a little more creativity because eventually people get burnt out on that. I don't mind it. Like I said, now I don't watch a ton of it or whatever, but I think it's all right. Like I said, I mean, I don't have a issue with it or whatever. Like I said, it's time and place for everything. So
yeah,
I think it also depends on any questions you want to ask. This is a discussion. This ain't us just
okay,
asking you
okay,
questions. Yeah.
yeah,
Don't ever feel like you can't ask something or something like that. Yeah. This is everybody's show. But no, like my whole thing is just like he was saying, you're kind of pigeonholing yourself into just that. And I feel like the audio just messed up real bad right there. I don't know why. Um, but like he said, time and place for everything. I just don't. It also depends on how far you're going to go with it.
yeah,
Like the whole the MJF Adam Page sticking the needle through his jaw.
yeah. Oh no,
Kids,
no, that's too much.
I don't. We're going too far.
yeah,
Because there are, at the end of the day, you got to remember that even though you can push that limit in wrestling that you can't sometimes push in a movie with kids,
yeah,
there are still kids watching,
yeah,
and kids are going to mimic some of this stuff. And unfortunately, that's just a truth of the wrestling business, but it's the truth in any sport. You
yeah,
know, kids mimic, Bird and Magic when they hit the scene. How many kids image, Michael Jordan when he hit the scene? You know what I'm saying? Every generation has that guy that, they look up to and try to mimic. So
yeah,
it's just, what are they trying to mimic? And that's my biggest thing with the death matches is really the kids watching it and getting a
yeah,
hold of it. What are they going to try to do?
yeah. I like the straight up like Nick Gage type stuff where it's just hold on, there's a car going by, it's really loud. Sorry.
Oh, I didn't hear.
All right,
We
so
didn't
my
hear
thing
a
on it
thing.
is just
If it makes you feel better, we didn't hear a thing.
okay, we're good. We're good. My thing on it is I cannot. It doesn't to be a professional wrestler. There's a work to it. There's an art to it, and it doesn't take a whole lot of talent to just hit each other with stuff and get hurt for real or cut open, for real. To me, that. But also to go back to like the story of it is if you have a huge blood feud, like yeah, hit each other with the chair, throw somebody through a table. Like that's all fine and well. But when we're putting needles in our mouths or we're hitting each other with cinder blocks and things like that, it's got to the point to where it's crazy the amount of stuff. And like you said, there's kids watching. But that being said, I think about WrestleMania last week with the unsanctioned match. And there's not even blood, or you have these Hell in a Cell matches. There's supposed to be these super dangerous matches, and you're not even getting a scratch. To me, that's just, you see these cage matches all these years, and like think about Flair. How many times did you see his head?
Yeah.
And then it's just there's like a fine line where it's like this makes it seem like, hey, this is a serious story and these guys are going after each other. But then at the same time, I don't want you to push it so far. It's like, oh man, I don't even want my kids to watch this.
Yeah.
So
And it's like Kevin Nash said, I seen a documentary with him years ago. I want to say it was like an AEW documentary or an A and E documentary.
ain't
I
either.
said it all. Yeah, I said it all wrong, man. It can't. I was on a roll, and I just figured go with whatever comes out. But Kevin Nash said on this documentary, he said, and this is without even the death match stuff. This is just regular wrestling. Not that regular wrestling is less than, it's like you said, it's an art form. I just learned something the other day about it that, I didn't know about how to signal somebody to lock up, had no idea. I try not to tell things on here so that people don't know too much.
Yeah.
But Kevin Nash said, you can put somebody in a figure four and snap somebody's leg in half, but you don't.
Yeah.
That's the art of it.
Yeah.
You can go out there and hurt somebody.
Easily.
You're telling me, right? You tell me Big Show couldn't go out there and beat the snot out of Rey Mysterio in that match that they did? That'd have been like me mollywhopping my 3-year-old grandson or something.
Yeah.
What? No, that's not believable. But you don't.
Yeah.
You go out there because the show must go on. Hello, Keita. Thanks for being here. Also, thank you to Mayhem Media for being here. This talking with the Ace Carmichael, one of the best from AEW and many other independent promotions around Kentucky. But yeah, that's my biggest thing. You were talking about WrestleMania. TKO's got to get out of it.
Yes.
I don't mind a little bit of blood.
Yeah.
And I don't mind my kids see, my kids are not going to see any less blood watching professional wrestling than they're going to watch. How many kids nowadays at 6, 7, 8, 9 years old are watching Five Nights at Freddy's?
Yeah. Or a video game with,
Yeah.
Thank you.
like Call of Duty, Modern Warfare. What's the difference?
I don't want your cage match to have blood, but we're going to promote Grand Theft Auto as a sponsor.
How's that work?
Yeah, make it make sense.
Yeah. Well, it's like
it doesn't.
Blood is a real life thing. I have to keep Band-Aids at my house because I have 2 small children who are always bleeding somewhere. They're always getting scraped. But like I said, I don't want buckets of blood. But if you tell me that, J Mac and Slam hate each other, I was like, okay. And then you guys get into a fight out of the bar. You mean tell me none, like y'all aren't going to have any bruises or blood or scratches? Like,
yeah, that's not realistic.
No, it kind of kills it.
Yeah.
And as long as the blood adds to the story, like that's what matters. But like, I don't want to see blood just because there's blood. You know what I'm saying? Like it has
like how John Moxley was like 2 years ago.
Yeah, like I mean, there has to be a reason why the blood's there, and add to the story. Not just okay, he's just gushing blood because we cut him, and there's a ton of blood, and that's what people want to see. Like I don't like that type of shit. Like
no,
and
same
way with movies and stuff. That's why I used to like for example, the Saw movies. The first couple I really liked them because the gore added to the movie, but then it got to be gory just to be gory, and it didn't help the story. And I think that's the same thing with wrestling. It's like it's got to add to it. It can't just be there just to be there.
Exactly.
And see that, that's it. I would rather. I want. How do you give me the blood of like a Flair Steamboat match? Where midway through the match, these 2 men been battling for 30 minutes. And midway through the match, Ricky Steamboat, does an atomic drop, and Flair, bounces off the post, comes back. I've seen Arn Anderson do this a lot too, and it's just what kind of came to mind to spot. But he would like bounce off the turnbuckle and come back, but Steamboat or somebody would like walk towards him like he was going to do something, and boom, their heads collided.
Yep.
And they go back. It was the back of his head hit the front of his head, and then the guy who got the front of his head gets up and he's got a little cut.
Yeah,
that makes
almost
sense.
like that's what would happen in real life.
Yeah.
Oh my Lord! how dare they have something make sense? But yeah, TKO's got to get out of it because there's no reason we've got Hell in a Cell matches that they don't even leave the cell.
Unsanctioned matches that seem like a normal Friday Night
Yeah, that's
SmackDown
what I thought
match.
about it too. Yeah, like I was
Unsanctioned
like
right in
for
the
a
middle of the
unfinished
card.
match, this seems kind of just like a regular match. They just
This is
We're not
unsanctioned,
responsible
but
for
it's
any of
the third
this.
match of the card. And it's unsanctioned to the point to where the announcers are still going to announce them coming in. We're still
Yep.
going to give them stats. I heard, what was it? He said, the only reason the referee's out there is to count the three. The WWE's just lending them a referee. Oh, did he
Is
let
that a normal match?
did they lend the timekeeper and the
I guess they let them
the
borrow it all.
announcer, the commentators? Right.
All of it.
It just,
That's funny.
I don't know. It's bad. It's really bad as far as that goes, because it's just, I don't know. But to go back to what you were saying, you said something earlier, and I'm sorry, we got to talking, and that's perfectly fine. I love the way
I do this all the
conversation-
time.
We just try to let the conversation flow. Yeah. Well, we just like to let the conversation flow. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's why I said, if you got questions for us, please feel free to ask us stuff. But you had mentioned earlier about whenever you were in OVW and y'all done that rookie thing. I believe it was the show. You said there was a show that the rookies put on and stuff. And
Yeah, the rookie showcase.
like
yeah.
when you said, yeah, rookie showcase. I was trying to write it all down and forgot to write that name down. Whenever I was doing it, I jot notes down whenever I'm going. But so when you said you all got to plan that out, does that mean you and Tank was his name, right? I don't watch much AEW.
Or Turbo. True Southern. Turbo, yeah.
Right. So you two got to just sit there and plan your match out and tell the agent, or whatever you want to call it, the agent, producer, whatever, what you all wanted to do.
Yeah. So that's like all the other matches, you had the veteran and the rookie, and obviously the veteran ran the show, and this is what we're doing for our match. And with us both being rookies, we had Matt Capitelli beside us, and we kind of put it out there. And obviously being so green, like not ever having like a match in front of people. I had a couple matches in front of people from the first time I was trained, but it was, in front of like 30 people in my hometown or something. But this was like totally different scale. And so we're sitting there like putting the match together, and Matt Capitelli and Danny and them, they're kind of, okay, yeah, but what if we got here by doing this? So we put it together, and they helped, tune it up to where everything definitely made sense. And we had a really good match, and it's crazy to think about now of go out there. It's every time you go out there, you're so nervous, but then I was super nervous. And like I said, both of us put this match together, and it was, we'll see how it goes, and actually turned out very well.
That's really cool. I mean, because that's, I thought maybe it was, like, okay, well, we're just giving y'all the reins, do what you can, as long as you don't do nothing too stupid,
Yeah.
And then you all just did it. But I mean, did you all have to get things approved first?
No. They were just kind of there to let us tell the story we wanted to. And if we, obviously two guys who haven't had very many matches, put it together, which OVW's training, I don't know how it is now, but with Al being there, I'm sure it's still like great. But then it was putting a match together. Well, that's just another day at training, because we would do drills and drills and drills. And then the last hour, it's, hey, you guys have a 5-minute match, put it together. So you go over the whole, psychology of how things work. How do we get to this point? How do we do that? So like we were prepared, we were ready to go. And that being the final test of like, okay, well, you guys put it together and do it in front of people, and I'll be here if you need me, I'm here. And so that's kind of how it went, basically.
That's really cool. That is absolutely awesome. Like, it just, I don't know, the experience of just knowing that you're going through a school that, like, well, they just showed the graphic. I think it's Randy Orton. is the only one left out of the class of, I think, it's
Like the
2002.
big four or something.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
OVW, because it was like Brock, Randy, Cena,
Batista.
Batista.
and things.
Yeah, I think that was them. There may have been one more or something that I can't remember who
Was
it
it
was. I
Kevin
think
Owens?
Shelton Benjamin, but he's with AEW.
Oh no,
yeah,
it was
Shelton
Shelton
Benjamin.
Benjamin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they said that, those four, it's the table's just about empty and everything. I was like, wow, that's crazy, man. Because I think about it, and that's the third generation of wrestlers that I've watched come up
Yeah.
and retire.
Yeah.
Now there was a bunch with the golden era and Hogan and them that, they were already big stars and stuff when they came to WWE, but, they were on their downward slope and everything, especially the way McMahon had everything running and the whole machine behind Hogan. There was no room for anybody else to be up at the top,
Yeah.
even for their last little run. They kind of went there just to make some money in their last little run. But like, I got to see them, and then I've got to see, the rise of like the Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart's, Kevin Nash's, on into the Triple H's and the Stone Colds and the Rocks and, all those guys. Owen, I mean, I don't care what anybody says. I think that 90s to early 2000s wrestling just had the greatest class of wrestlers of all time.
Yeah.
And that's just me. Like I said, you had Owen Hart, Mr. Perfect, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart. I mean, just all of the Bulldog. People don't realize how great the Bulldog was in the ring. If he could have beaten some of his demons, he could have been one of the greatest of all time too. Sorry, I'm getting off on a rant.
Oh no.
But like, and then you go into like the Cenas and the, that OVW class and everything that's, starting to, retire now and everything. It's just like, wow, man, that's a lot of wrestling. And that's really cool that you've gotten to, well, me, I think it's really cool that I've gotten to be a part of a time in wrestling that was just probably the greatest 3 eras ever so far.
Yeah.
And, and it's spilling over. And here's the weird thing, because people are getting kind of fed up with the pricing of TKO overpricing and everything. So they're looking back towards the modern day territories, the independents.
Yep.
And they're looking for, their local heroes again. It's not going to, it's taking a less national approach again.
Yeah.
And I think to me, from what I've seen and just from what I've heard and everything for the year we've been involved, the indie scene is really thriving. So that's what I was going to ask.
There's a hotbed.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to just say that the indie scene, I'm sure in every state there are areas where the indie scene is hot. And I think here in central and like southeastern Kentucky right now is some of the best just independent wrestling you're going to get. I'm sure there's, and think about like Tennessee, Ohio, these other places. Like I'm just talking about the one area that I, run around in, and it's just crazy how every state definitely has all this going for them as well, I'm sure.
Yeah.
That's what we've heard before, whether about Kentucky being a kind of, as far as indie wrestling, like it's in a really good place. Like it's thriving. There's a lot of people coming, independent, and, there's a lot of organizations.
Well, have you guys ever go up to Davis Arena, or if that's what it's still called, to watch the OVW shows? Have you guys ever been there?
I've seen a match I think it was during a state fair, but I haven't been up there to actually watch a match in a long time.
Okay.
I have never had the privilege of seeing an OVW show.
Okay. I'll tell everybody, like, it's cool to go there just because the feeling I got from training there is you literally, you go in, you have the little ticket booth thing. It's an old warehouse is what it is. And once you pay, you walk down this hallway and they just have like a hall of like a Hall of Fame, I guess, of all these WWE and legends and greats that have been affiliated through OVW. And there's so many names on there that like you might not even know that like, oh, they went to OVW, and it's really crazy. And then you go in there, it's the same exact setup and ring and everything that, that class of '04 that you were talking about that was in there. And it blows your mind that, but
I
the thing
would
I'm talking about
love.
with the independent wrestling is like in 2017, 18, when I was training with OVW, like every show was right there in the Davis Arena in Louisville. And occasionally they would branch out to Elizabethtown. And that's pretty much the only traveling. But the scene has gotten so hot, and I haven't been to an OVW show. I don't keep up with it really. But from the people I've heard is it's kind of stalemating. So like they're coming to places like Lexington and, places like that. And they haven't done that since that era of Cena and all those guys.
Okay.
See, that's the thing, man. Go support these people. And you can, I think, I don't know if people still like. I wonder how many people still have the mindset of, well, I go to EWA, so I can't go to, KWF.
I can't go support someone else.
Right. The thing you don't understand is a lot of these people you see wrestling at EWA, they're going down to Appalachian. They're going, over to KWF. They're working up in Ohio. They're working down in Tennessee. Tennessee's another state that I hear is kind of a little hotbed for independent wrestling too. But see, that doesn't surprise me.
No.
It's the South. Well, no, it's just the South. Wrestling has always thrived in the South. Yes, that Southern wrestling and honestly and truthfully, Southern wrestling and Memphis, I think, is what was like the first stepping stone of putting the entertainment part into it. Yeah. But Southern wrestling and then into Memphis wrestling and then on into the Attitude Era was about a little more reality to it.
Yeah.
It wasn't the Gladiator versus the Spartan. It was Billy Jack versus Bobby, whatever, Your
two local rednecks.
Right. He was pissed off because you did this and you talked about his mama or whatever, you know what I'm saying? And that's why they're fighting. Come pay some money and see them fight.
And my thing is I try to keep up with so much wrestling, not just as a fan, but to kind of study it and think of like things that, well, okay, I might try this next time. Is like you can look at the wrestling everywhere. So for example, if you look at like California wrestling, like Young Bucks type wrestling, it's very fast paced, it's very spotty, and that has a crowd. And it's like you might be able to go out there and do those moves and spots and all that, but to me, it doesn't get any better than your good old Southern wrestling. It makes the most sense. It's the whole less is more dynamic. That's what I love about it. Is there's no sense in going out here hitting a 450 splash, picking him up in a package pile driver, and then he kicks out, and then I hit him with this headlock takeover and win. It doesn't make sense.
Right. I would rather see come out, circle the ring, collar and elbow into a side headlock, shoot them off the ropes, little shoulder block, kind of give them that look,
Isn't it so weird that every match on a card can start out exactly like that, but every single card or every single match on the card that starts out like that, it's going to tell a different story. It's going to be completely different, even though you're like, okay, well, it started out with a headlock, shoot off, tackle, drop down, drop kick. Okay. But then as the story progresses, almost every fairy tale starts out once upon a time, and then it ends with happily ever after. But that whole thing in between, that story, it's always different.
One can be about eating porridge. Yeah, one can be about eating porridge. Other one can be about climbing a beanstalk.
Exactly. Until you sit there and watch it, you don't realize it.
Yes.
That's the beauty. That's the art. That's what I love about it.
I have never thought about it like that. I like that analogy.
Well,
I really do.
I've been thinking a lot about I used to just go out here and do what I'm comfortable doing. And I guess I get that philosophy from mimicking Bret Hart so much. And I'm not a huge FTR fan, but I do like the way they work. And they're huge Bret Hart fans. And one of the brothers in the locker room was listening to a podcast, is a wrestling podcast. And it's these two guys up in, I think it was like Massachusetts or something, like far away. And their whole thing is they watch a random indie match and they just review the whole thing. And they did mine and Murphy Costigan's in Lexington a couple months ago. And they said, not knowing me, they don't know anything about me. They're just two random guys who live up north and they watch this match. They said that they could tell through my technical abilities that he models this stuff after Bret Hart. He could be the third member of FTR. And I was like, whoa. It's like I have got to where I can tell the story out there to where you can watch and be like, oh, that's who he watches a lot of. To me, that was awesome, you know.
Are you trying to tell us that you're getting ready to trade in Cashes?
Am I getting ready to what?
To trade in Cashes? Cash Atkins for Cash. What's his name?
I don't know. Let me talk to Tony Khan first and see what kind of money he can give me.
That would be cool, though. Yeah, and that's a big honor. You know what I'm saying? Because FTR is a great tag team right now.
Exactly.
I'm not a huge fan of AEW just because I'm not a big fan of the storytelling. But to be fair, I'm not a big fan of the WWE storytelling right now either. You know what I'm saying? And that's just being fair. Storytelling across the board in the big leagues is not been good. I'm telling you right now, the Adrian story, him turning.
Yeah.
That's been my favorite story in wrestling past 6 months.
I've hated it.
Well, right. He said, personally, I can't stand it, but you know.
If he would have had the brand and Carson Drake, I'd be your EWA champion right now. But no.
Man. Then you said Carson Drake, so I shouldn't hold this up, right? I shouldn't put that up at all.
No, put that down.
None of that.
Yeah, put that down.
Man, that's my favorite belt of all time. And I ran across that thing on Facebook for $85.
Oh, man.
I got to go grab it.
I love a good belt.
Yes. I mean, that's my first one ever. And like, it's funny too, because I know it's crazy, but out of all the titles in the world, the NWA World Television Championship and on into that first little bit of the WCW World Television Championship, my favorite championship of all time. I don't know why. I think it was just because it was the title I knew I was going to see defended every Saturday and Sunday night.
Yeah, that's the one you're going to see. What's your favorite belt?
Probably the Wing Dingle.
Same. That's my go-to. Which is, like you're saying, J Mac, that's the one, the first belt I remember seeing Bret Hart hold up. So I'm just like, that's the one.
And that's my favorite world title. As far across the board of any world titles, and that's even including the big gold and the 10 pounds of gold, which are my second and third favorites in no respective order.
Yeah.
But as far as world titles, but my other favorite title is the Intercontinental Championship Classic. The, Macho up till, Dolph Ziggler and all them and everything. But I like the white leather the best.
It sets it differently. Every other belt's black.
Nope. And then
that's one thing I wish WWE would do is make the belts look different, man. Like,
I'm just glad the tag team titles don't look like pennies.
The pennies
anymore. Those were terrible. That was the worst thing ever. Like, if I had to pick a group of titles, to me, that kind of late 80s into the 90s WWE set of the tag team, Intercontinental and World title, the Winged Eagle, the Intercontinental, and the Demolition tag team titles. When they had that set and the NWA had the set of the big gold, the I call it the Barry Windham and Lex Luger U.S. title, the of course the NWA World Television, and then those blue strapped NWA World Tag Team titles. I think those were the best two sets of titles ever, as far as just like overall for a company. I don't know why, that was just that was random, but those are great titles. So, what are your favorite championships besides the Winged Eagle?
The Winged Eagle, and then you got the Intercontinental. I always liked that one a lot. I'm a big fan of the 10-pound, the NWA one, and that's just, I think that has a lot to do with Ric Flair. You know, just in general, you see it so much, so you're just like, hey, I like that. I always liked the WCW tag team champions, like that the Steiner brothers would wear and stuff, like when they brought them out. I always liked those a lot. I feel like those are kind of underrated. The 24/7, but no, I'm just kidding.
Oh Lord, that was man. Like, what were they? Some of these belts that they come out with now, I just don't get.
No,
I really don't. I really don't.
let's just put a big W on there.
Right, you know, because that's what we're going to do. Let's not take any. Let's not put any creative into anything.
So, like, did you like any of the, you know, like the Rock, you know, the Brahma Bull belt, or Stone Cold,
the Smoking Skulls? One of the belts that I had as a kid was the is the Brahma Bull belt, but it had like a physical Brahma Bull coming out of the strap that you put on. I don't know if you guys remember these, but it's like, it looked just like the Brahma Bull, but rather than it being like engraved, it was a physical 3D bull coming up out of the belt. I always thought that thing was really cool. Actually, I think I sold that on eBay like 5 years ago. Stupid. I should have kept it.
I know J Mac's favorite is probably the spinner belt.
The spinner belt?
God, I hate
that was his favorite.
The Edge one with the rated R in it.
I hated it even when they stopped the thing from spinning. I'm like, why? That belt was so thick. It just looked retarded. I'm sorry. It was just the worst looking thing that ever happened. That, and I don't know. I'm trying to think of another terrible.
Tell us how you really feel about it. Really,
I will. I don't at all. That was WWE. That was one of the worst decisions you ever made. The worst was just getting rid of the Winged Eagle, period.
Yeah.
You just should have left that alone and called it a day.
And then teasing us last year with it, and then just taking it away a month later.
And I mean, that even the teaser, it was ugly. The teaser was, I didn't like that version of it. Just go back to that black, that double plated. Let's just simplify it. Go back to the simple stuff.
Oh, you guys like that? Well, you can't have it.
Right. No. Why would we ever do anything you want us to do? You're the fans.
You don't like the $100 tickets? Well, now they're $200.
It's funny you say that, because that's going to be a topic that we're going to be bringing up on the recap show. Is like basically Tony. So I'm going to get your opinion on it before and then I got two more questions for you, and I'll let Uncle Slam ask his questions, and we'll let you get out of here, because I just seen we hit the hour mark. I know you got Friday night, you got a family and stuff. We want to let you get back to them. So where is this? Nick Khan, he said something. Yeah, I mean, it's terrible. That's not it. I don't know what I did with it. Basically, Nick Khan said that we need to kind of shut up. There it is. Some of the complaints in WWE's personalized fan service are, I don't like the match. You guys are pieces of shit. And I go, okay, I got it. Some are, hey, we had an obstructed view. We'll have you come to our next show. People are allowed to complain, but we don't adjust our business based on complaints. We adjust based on ratings, revenue, and relevance. That tells me right there that WWE doesn't care anything about its fans.
That's everything we've been talking about.
Yeah,
exactly.
In a nutshell, they pretty much just said, we don't give a fuck what y'all say. Either you like it or you don't. Watch it or you don't. You don't care. We're still. I mean, you don't have another choice.
I mean, honestly, that's crazy that you bring that up now, because everything that we've been sitting here complaining about, that's the reason.
Yeah, it brings it right back. They don't give a shit.
You don't care about the storyline. You don't care about the ticket price. You don't like this. You don't like. Okay, well we like it like this. I seen another thing. Was it him saying that like pretty much Triple H can do whatever he wants, but we're the ones that book the show pretty much.
Yeah, as far as creative, like they're in control of creative. That's why the story's been kind of they've been weak and shit, and it's been the same old shit. That's like they just brought back the bloodline again. We just had that shit 3 years ago. Why are we doing that again?
You ruined it last year.
Yeah,
you could have done so much when The Rock came back, but he decided he was going to take over the creative. He ruined it. But yeah, see, exactly. And that's the thing is wrestling is it's story, it's athleticism, it's all this. But the main thing it is it's interactive. Those people pay their hard-earned money to come here. They pay now to watch wrestling. You got to have 5 different subscriptions.
Yeah, easily.
Like, you know what I mean? But I feel the thing that sucks is because like it's a thing where the people have to be invested for it to be hot. The hotter something is, the better it comes off. If you don't have a crowd there hooping and hollering and they don't care, the people watching TV don't care. But unfortunately, like the bad thing is we can complain about ticket prices. We can complain about having to have 5 different streaming services just to watch our wrestling programs. We might boycott it, but there's so many people. It's like, I'll watch it anyway. And so it does nobody any good. That's why they've gotten to the level they've gotten to.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, no, that's it. That's what Uncle Slam's been saying that for a year now. They've taxed our loyalty.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
That's one thing I love about being an independent wrestler is don't get me wrong. Yes, I would prefer to only do wrestling and get paid for it and work for a billion-dollar company. But at the same time, my hands aren't cuffed to where, most of those guys, they've come up on the indie scene. They understand what it's like to interact and have the crowd behind you. But if this is how you, provide a great life for your family, your hands are tied, and it's like, what can you do? And to me, that just take the passion and drive out of it.
Right. Why would you want, to me, that all that's going to do is cause disgruntled employees.
Yeah.
And when you've got disgruntled employees, that leads to employees that don't care what they're putting on out there.
Yep.
If it goes over, it goes over.
Now your employees are acting like your employers. And then your business starts to tank because once you're, it's almost like any job. If your higher ups are treating your working class people bad, they're going to be like, well, screw you. I don't care. And then you're going to get a bad product. And I feel like that's the point where we're getting to, because a couple of years ago, WWE's hotter than they've been in many, many years. And now it's okay. We're just getting paid. I knew this was probably going to be a thing once they started taking the Saudi Arabia. So, and I'm not a political person. I don't care where the show's at. I'm not going to it. So I don't care where it's at. But once you're getting that guaranteed money, you're going to put out crap. Just let's get our show over with, get our money, get back home.
So we've talked about this before, and not to get political, but just our sentiment is we feel like WrestleMania should be in North America. Just, kind of like the Super Bowl, kind of like the World Series. It just, to me, that's where it's just kind of like, I don't mind any of the other, pay-per-views going into Saudi Arabia or like any other places. But I just feel like if it's one of the big 4, I kind of would rather have them, especially WrestleMania, in North America. Just as a fan, you know what I'm saying? So it's easier tickets are already expensive as hell.
Yeah.
So imagine have to add a flight to that. And then,
hotel room.
Yeah, like, ticket prices are already going to be jacked up, and hotels are going to be jacked up anyway. So it's like you're just adding more and more.
Well, that's my view on it. 100% is that is the Super Bowl of wrestling. That's where people around the world are going to come to. They're not going to go there. Okay, it's just like. Yeah. Like no one has a desire to go out there. Maybe even if you had it in like London or something, people might go there. But you go that far over, people aren't going to want to go there. I don't even know if they can. I don't know how it works. But what I think is they probably make more money doing that than having everyone come in and That's another thing. It's like, what are they going to do? WrestleMania weekend's a whole entire weekend where
Yeah.
indie wrestlers make tons of money at conventions and, indie shows and stuff like that. Like, there's not going to be any of that there. At least I don't
Well,
think
not
there
only
will
that,
be.
indie shows are going to, they try to book on the outskirts of those towns and stuff and everything, like I've learned a lot about, like I've been reading this I read this article. It's talking about like the psychology of indie promoting whenever there's like, companies like, AEW and all these other shows, when they put on big shows, well, you try to book your shows. If you're in the vicinity of their town, you try to book a show on the outskirts of their town. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that way you can hold a Friday night show because AEW still does like Sunday night stuff and everything. So you can have a Friday, Saturday night show, make a good, little lick because you've got that, crowd that's there for the big show and everything. They're looking for
A good
something
warm up
to do.
show for everybody.
I was like, yeah. I was like, I never thought about that, but it makes sense and stuff and everything. People are, I honestly and truthfully, I think eventually people are going to see the light and it's just going to all float back to, just more local wrestling, like it was back in the territory days.
We're going to, go back to the territories. That would be great.
Yes. I mean, wrestling was the best. I won't say the best, wrestling, it was one of the best times in wrestling. I'm not going to say it was better than the Attitude Era or wasn't better than the Attitude Era because everything led to everything else.
Yeah.
But, it definitely worked for a long time and it made a lot of people a lot of money.
I think so you don't really hear about the indie scene in the golden era, and you don't really hear about the indie scene in the attitude era. So when this mainstream wrestling is hot, the indies aren't hot. But when you're getting to an era like we are now where the main product is not that great, hopefully, that'll turn the people to, like you're saying, like the local shows, the territories and stuff. Like, I don't know. It's hard to think of a time where both are up here. So normally it's the main product, WWE's up here, and people don't care about the indies. And I think we're getting like this. We switch it around. That'd be pretty cool.
I agree 100%. Let me get to my last couple of questions here and everything, and then I will let Uncle Slam take over for a second. Like I said, I don't want to keep you too long. I know you got a family and you want to get
Oh, you're fine. Old Ace Carmichael likes to run his mouth.
That's all right. You're more than welcome to run it for as long as you want to. So, one last little WrestleMania question. How shocked were you about the Brock retirement?
When we were talking about the OVW people earlier, I thought of this. So my daughter, she's 7, and she watched, WrestleMania with me both nights. And it's kind of cool because she's getting to the thing like where she'll ask questions and they're story based. Well, why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? And so she hates Gunther because AJ Styles is one of my favorites and he got retired, and Cena wasn't ever one of my favorites until it's like, oh, now he only comes around so often. So it's like, I'll cheer for him because he's getting ready to leave. So
look at it all the time.
Yeah, the thing is like, so she'll kind of like watch me and be like, okay, well, that must have been a big deal. As we're sitting there watching the match, which we were like, that's one of the matches I was most excited for, just because it had the best build.
Yes.
You got this guy who's ruled for 20 years, and then this new up and comer guy. That plus my kids just are doing this all the time. They call it the oboe walk or whatever. And so she was sitting there watching that with me, and I was like, I seen him kind of tearing up, and then he like was taking his boots off, and I'm like, what? And she's like, what's that mean? I said, well, normally when people take their boots off, that means they're done. And then off came the gloves and then the tears. And I was like, I was literally sitting over there like, oh my God, Brock Lesnar is retiring.
Yeah.
Because like I keep up with a bunch of stuff, and I was like, I haven't heard anything about this. And it's funny because she got on her tablet and I was like, what's she doing? And I ended up she had messaged me on Kids Messenger. She sent me the Mike Zazowski from the Monsters Inc. meme of him sitting there like with his mouth open. But that completely blew my mind. And then here we are a week later and we still don't know, like, work, shoot, what is this? What's going on? You know?
I think it was a shoot. Now, I just think I buy what Brock said because I've seen a quote from him where he was talking about. But before I tell you that, I to go off what you were saying. I thought this was going to be his rivalry for the summer. They were going to have a 3-match series. You know what I'm saying? Boom, Brock would lose this one to the young fella. The young fella come, you know, they'll fight again. Brock will show him old guy still got it. It was a fluke, you know, and then they'll go to the last match, SummerSlam, where everybody thought it was going to happen. And, you know, Oba take him out and pass torch. But like he was talking about how the diverticulitis really did a number on his midsection and stuff. So it makes it really hard and really tender for him to wrestle and stuff and everything. That's one reason why he doesn't wrestle so much, because it weakened his midsection so much. Yeah. So he felt like it was just time to go ahead and do it. It was his time. But there's also, I've heard some politics into it to where he didn't want to do the job to Gunther, because he felt Obafemi should be the one to be this new monster that's going to come through and wreck people like he does.
Well, also, how's Gunther going to beat him? Rear naked choke? I don't see Brock going to lay there and get unconscious. You know what I mean?
Let's not even get into Gunther, because they've ruined that whole thing. I mean, I loved Gunther. The ring general thing was awesome. I can out wrestle you. I don't want to see Gunther the barbarian that retires everybody.
Yeah. I also like Fat Gunther better. I like Walter better.
Right. All right. Well, okay. So my last question is, if you can, I don't know if you're allowed to elaborate on this, but I am totally sure that he doesn't mind this going up here because he posted it online. Is this a brand split?
So, yeah. So we're trying to do 2 shows, and that's pretty much what it is it's, you have your Ignition, which will be in Danville, and then you have your Pulse that will be in Richmond. And that's pretty much what's going on, is there's going to be like a SmackDown and a Raw of EWA. And then we'll still do our big 4 shows that all come together, from my understanding. Don't quote me on this. It's just the vibe that I've gotten, that yes, we are doing a brand split.
Okay, that is awesome and everything. Like I said, I knew that he had posted those, so I just wanted to ask about it. If I was, because that's what I thought. Ladies and gentlemen, if you got any thoughts and everything on the brand split of EWA, let us know and everything.
You guys want to come to the Pulse show in Richmond, because that's where the best talent is. You can see those 2 handsome men up top. But I think eventually I might take the belt off old Buzzsaw, and so I might be working double, or I might just, that whole brand down there at the bottom, the hell with them.
I know it. I think we're trying to help build some rivalries here and everything. No, but that's really awesome and everything. Like, I am so glad that they're doing so good. You know what I'm saying? I love EWA. I really do. It's a great organization. They always put on a great show.
It's a top quality product, really.
Yes, it really is. You know what I'm saying? It's, it's not, just go, people. Pay, you don't have to pay the worst seats in the house are 100 feet away and 20 foot in the air
for $15.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, Jesus, just pay it and go. Let's fill these houses up, man.
Yeah, you can take the whole family and still go out to dinner and still have money left.
Yes,
exactly. You can get ice cream on the way home.
Yeah, for real. And then well, still might be pushing it on gas, but no.
Hey, those Richmond shows are pretty close.
Right. Yes. Yes. But seriously, people, get out here and fill these places up, man.
Yeah, we got
Yeah.
the 9th in Danville and 16th in Richmond. I always tell everybody, if you have kids, even if your kids like my kids weren't big wrestling fans, and then I have a niece who is 11. She's a huge wrestling fan now, and she had never seen wrestling at all until she started coming to Ace Carmichael matches. And that's not just because me. Obviously, I'm her favorite, but I mean, she likes like almost every wrestler comes out. She's got a favorite. She's got ones that she boos, and now it's bled into like now she's just a wrestling fan because the kids. Like we were talking earlier, the kids aren't going to go up there and get a high five from, Roman Reigns. But whenever we come out, I'll high five everybody before I even get in the ring. I don't care. That's my time. And these people pay their hard-earned money. I'm going to make them a part of the show as well, and to make sure that they're also very entertained. So you get your money's worth. And if you have people who aren't wrestling fans. And another thing about these small shows that I've learned over the past year, because as you know, I am the EWA fan favorite wrestler of 2025. So that's pretty cool for a comeback.
Yes,
you build relationships with these people.
Yes.
There are people who, like a year ago, 6 months ago, have no idea who I am. And now anytime I see them, it's like you run into a family member you don't see all the time. We'll sit there and have a little second conversation and it's gone. And it's cool to be able to connect with people like that. And you don't get that at those big shows.
And honestly and truthfully, I'll finish up with this and let Uncle Sam take it over. That's what really sold me on not only independent wrestling, but you all in particular. It was almost unfair because, you all, the first show you all went to, like I said, you took a picture with my daughter, and I believe it was after your match.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you were tired, just, it was hot. You were outside getting a breath of fresh air, and you took a second to, she ran up to you and was like, she asked me, she was like, "There's Ace. Can I get a picture with him?" And I was like, "Honey, you can ask him." I was like, but remember, he just got through, doing a match. So if he's tired, give him a second, And she was like, "Okay." And that's whenever I think she came up and asked you and everything. And you was just like, "Yeah, sure."
Absolutely. That's what I do it for.
Yes. And then it was just other acts too, like Brock's Boulder and Titan Troy, Grappling Inc. They went up into the stands to give her an autograph on her shirt.
Yeah. They're great guys.
I'm like, you're not gonna see anybody in the WWE really do something like that.
Not unless you pay a lot of money for them to do it.
No. Yeah, you're not gonna see anybody honestly in any of the big. Yes. And then you got to pay. Yeah, it's crazy. And, it was all the acts like that. And that wasn't all of it. Like I said, everybody that she's ever asked, I think she's got a shirt. It's a Headlocks, Heels, and Havoc shirt that's got like probably 15 Ace Carmichael autographs on it. And I'm like, why do you keep asking these people for their autograph over and over again? She said, "Because I'm a fan and I want them all over this and everything." She asks everybody over and over, but every time, y'all take the time to sign it. So, that's what sold it on me. And I'm not saying that any of these other organizations in Kentucky aren't great. I haven't had the pleasure of seeing a whole lot of them. I'm planning on going and seeing, what is it? Appalachian Mountain Wrestling in Lexington, because I want to see what's his face? I cannot think of his name. Dolph Ziggler, and is it Kyle Maggard? Not Kyle Maggard.
It'll be Marty Clay.
Yeah,
Marty Clay. I don't know why I said Kyle Maggard. Marty Clay. My.
You might see Kyle Maggard. I don't know. You might be out there.
Yeah, but it's going to be right. Well, you never know. But yeah, I just, I'm going to go there and, see that and everything, because I've never heard anything bad. I know they put on good shows and everything. So, support local indie wrestling. It's worth it, man. Don't, save your money for what you pay a month to pay for ESPN. for lackluster, WWE
Netflix.
pay-per-views, yes, you can take your family to a monthly EWA show. Just independent wrestling. I'm
And
serious. Go ahead.
and
I'm
one
just
more
saying.
one
Sorry.
more thing to add to what
Go
you're
ahead.
saying, J Mac, is when you go to these like WWE shows, you're paying a crap ton of money, but yeah, you understand that people are getting paid off that. With these independent shows, we're not making a killing. Most of the time, the money that you pay to come to the show, that goes back into the production, that goes back into all the things. So the more money that people invest into the shows, the bigger the shows get, the bigger
Yes.
names on the cards get. That's how it works.
Yes. Yes, ma'am. Yes, Keita. Down to earth is exactly it. And that's what I love about, these independent shows. That's what I love about it. That's what grabbed me about EWA. And that's what I say. It's nothing against anybody else. They're just down to earth. They put on good shows. Your family's going to get the entertainment they're paying for, and, just go and have a good time.
And it's
You're going
family
to get
friendly.
yes, big
You know
time
what I mean?
family friendly.
I think a lot of people, especially in my neck of the woods, when they think of wrestling, as much as we as wrestling fans love the Attitude Era, it also turned a lot of people off to it because you were seeing such craziness. And so they think
Yes.
here 30 years later, no, I can't go to that independent show. There's too much blood and cussing. And it's like, no. Most of the time, if you hear cussing, it's coming from the crowd. Like,
Right.
it's not us.
Yes.
So
And it's
I
truth.
always make sure to tell everybody it's family friendly. You can bring your 5-year-old. They're not going to hear or see anything terrible.
I bring my 9-year-old all the time.
They literally have me go to elementary schools and talk to kids and do anti-bullying programs and stuff. They wouldn't let me be doing that if it was rated PG-13.
Yes, yes, yes. But yeah, Uncle Sam, I'll let you take it over and everything, and let you ask what you want to ask, and we'll let this man
I'll
get
keep
out
it
of
short
here.
and sweet because like I said, I know he's a busy man and we got stuff to do too. But I kind of ask everybody this question who comes on. What would you tell a younger, probably your younger self that you've learned over the years that you didn't know then that would probably help yourself like younger? Like what have you learned or, what have you experienced that you've been like, okay, I wish I knew that back in the day, or I wouldn't have made that mistake, or I wish I knew that sooner or I would have done better or whatever.
There's many things, but I think about this on a daily basis, so this will be the answer I give.
Mm.
There's not going to be a perfect moment. I wasted so much time. So I'm talking years, and I'm not even talking about just the simple fact of taking time away from the business to raise a family, because that is important. That's
Yeah.
that's what we're here for. But as far as the dream chasing aspect and doing this and doing that, there's not going to be a perfect moment. You will waste so much time and so much potential by waiting around for, well, I'll do this whenever I lose this much weight. I'll do this whenever I get this much money. And it's never going to be perfect. So you just got to go with what you got and make do with it, and it'll get better. But the first step to going where you want to be is you got to get on the road, and you just got to do it. Everything else, a buddy of mine told me this many years ago, and somehow it's worked out, is just anything you worry about, it always works out. So don't sit here and wait for everything, all your chips to be in line. Just get a couple and go do it. So there's not going to be a perfect moment. If you want to be a wrestler, you find out how to be a wrestler and you go be a wrestler.
That's it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, like I said, I definitely feel that.
Yes. Yes, because I mean that's true. That's kind of what we did, man. We just said, hey, we sit here and talk about this stuff all the time. Why don't we
Yeah.
just everybody's recording it? Why don't we record what we talk about and see if anybody wants to watch?
Yep.
You
And
know,
well, a buddy of mine brought this up to me because so a few months ago in Corbin, we had a Appalachian Mountain Wrestling show, and we had a seminar with the great Jay Lethal. And it was kind of a soft AEW tryout. It was recorded and taken back to, videoed, and it was taken back to, the bigger ups of AEW. And like, dude, I got to go in there and I got to chain wrestle with Jay Lethal. And there was one point in time like where it was a 2.5 hour seminar, and there was probably 30 people there. And I don't try to like, toot my own horn, but there's like 30 people there. We all got in there he would say a drill, the first 2 people up, that's who got in the ring and got to do it. And he would stop and critique every little thing that everyone done. It didn't matter if it was a, top wrist, like hold, like, yeah, get your hands like this. And like, he was very cool. And so me and this other guy, we had a chain wrestling drill where we got in there for 4 minutes and we just chain wrestled, just went with it. He didn't stop me one time. And I've played sports my whole life. And I was taught if the coach isn't kicking you, he just doesn't care. And so I was like, dang. Well, then as I'm getting out of the ring, Jay Lethal's like, hey, lock up with me if you don't care. I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to lock up with Jay Lethal, of course.
Right.
And me and him went for like 3 minutes.
No, I'm not going to do that, sir. Sorry.
Chain wrestle, who'd you ever beat, kid?
Right.
And so I got to chain wrestle with him, and from the feedback from the boys is like, well, he was just filling you out. So I was like, dang, that's pretty cool. So of course, after the show, I'm like calling my friends like, man, I had this thing with Jay Lethal. It was real cool. And they're like, imagine if you didn't take 7 years off, where I might be. I don't know. But I don't want to live thinking like, what if? But sometimes if I didn't wait for the perfect moment, because honestly, not to get crazy or like too deep, but Slam, the reason I say this is whenever I first started wrestling, like I've said at the beginning, I had a brother who passed away like a couple years ago. He had cerebral palsy. We were huge wrestling fans. He's a big sports fanatic too. And I always wanted to be a wrestler because there's a lot of people who have disabilities come to these wrestling shows. And to me, when you like everyday life, people just walk by them, don't pay attention. And there's people with disabilities. If you can make like them feel seen, oh man, it's crazy the light that comes to their face. But I started wrestling and I stopped. And then once he passed away, I was like, man, something in me was like, I got to do something. And so the whole reason I came back was just like, I'm going to do this to see if I could do it because I know that's what he would want me to be doing. And like, so some days I don't know if you can see, I got my gym in the back. Some days I don't feel like coming in here and working out. I don't feel like going to training. I don't feel like going to shows sometimes, but I'm just like, I keep that spirit inside of me. And I'm just like, got to do it for my brother. Well, that's what I'm doing. So that's the kind of thing that pushes me is like not waiting for that perfect moment. We're just going to go do it.
That's it. That's exactly it.
Yeah. But yeah, those are all the questions I got. Like I said, was it like 9:30? Oh well, actually, it's almost 10. Man. Damn.
It's almost bedtime.
I know
it. Well, Ace, man, we appreciate you coming on. I mean, you are more than welcome to come back anytime. We've enjoyed the conversation. You'll have to, man, I'd love to have you on for like an episode of whenever we do one of the world championship brackets for the Four Horsemen.
Love the Four Horsemen.
well, we have started a network with 2 other podcasts, the Nice Guy Andy and Mayhem Media. And we're doing like under the banner. We do like quarterly shows under the banner of the Four Horsemen of podcasting because there's 4 of us.
Yeah.
And our first kind of little series is going to be about we've broken it down into different companies, 8 representatives from each company, 8 organizations with 8 representatives from each organization. And then we're narrowing it down to those greatest world champions, and then on to who is the greatest ever world champion from any organization, according to us. We picked all the picks and everything. But yeah, man, it'd be fun to have you on there, man.
I would love to do it. Just keep me updated. Let me know.
Okay. Well, we will definitely do that. I will talk to the guys and everything. I don't know if JD and Mayhem's still listening, but if you are, you heard that, JD, man. We may have Ace to come on for the next Horseman episode if we can work it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, we appreciate it. Is there anything you want to plug and everything? Go ahead.
Just look me up on Instagram and on Facebook at Ace Carmichael. Give me a follow. If people want to talk about wrestling, people, it's crazy to me how many fans will, message me and, hey, what do you think about this? And just, man, I just love talking about wrestling. I just love wrestling so much. Like my wife, my kids, God, my family, my dogs, and wrestling. Like that's all I really love anymore in life. It's just crazy. So like I'll talk about wrestling with anybody. So, but like J Mac and Slam and I have said this whole entire episode, get out to, these local promotions, bring your kids. It's always a good time. Come check us out in Danville on the 9th, and then check us out in Richmond the 16th. And, it's a great thing. It's a wonderful thing. I love wrestling so much.
Yes, big things are happening in EWA. Big things are happening across this state in independent wrestling. So just get out and go support independent wrestling, because you make one company great, all companies are going to be great, because it's just going to spread. Yeah, we appreciate you coming on. Yeah, man, you'll definitely have to come back. We want to get you on here for one of our that would be cool, because I would love to have some of these episodes. We've never had an actual wrestler on to get an actual wrestler's point of view with, some of these matchups and everything. And I think that would be an awesome perspective to have on the panel and everything. Cause you've described things tonight, that's made me and Uncle Slam go, I like the way, I like the way he made that analogy and stuff. So yeah, that would be really cool to have you on one of those.
Well, I've had a blast, so I'd love to get on here. And as you can tell, I enjoy talking as well. So
hey,
I get on here and talk about wrestling all day.
Nothing wrong with that.
That's it. That's what we do. That's the whole point of it. But yeah, we will definitely get it worked out then. I will get on the horn with the rest of the crew after this and everything, or sometime this weekend we'll get it worked out, and we'll shoot some dates to you and everything and see what works out the best.
All righty. Well, thanks for having me, and I'll see you guys in a couple weeks, I suppose.
Yes, yes. Everybody look up Ace Carmichael, Mr. All In Ace Carmichael.
All In.
There you go. And yeah, check him out. Independent Wrestling, EWA. And I think the referees hit that 3 count. Uncle Slam, you tapped out?
I'm tapped out, sir.
All right, well, let's ring that damn bell.